So today we get the honor of having Isaac Archuleta here this morning, and we got to spend a few hours with him yesterday in a small workshop, as he shared, I think, some of the same things that he'll share, and some new things, and it was phenomenal. The whole time I was like, oh, I see myself in this. He talked a lot about shame and just our identity and things I know will speak to all of us. So Isaac is the founder and clinical director of a practice, psychotherapist practice in Denver, Colorado, IM Clinic, is that how you say it? And helps especially LGBTQI people and partners and families walk through things. And so this isn't, it'll become clear this isn't just for LGBTQ people, this is for all humans, as I think we all struggle with this. So would you join me in welcoming Isaac as he comes up here and shares this morning?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Can you guys hear me okay? Thank you. You guys look so shiny on this shiny morning. It's hot here, I'm just going to say that. I went for my morning run and I was like, I never sweat this much in Colorado, so it's beautiful to be here, though. Every time I come, I fall in love with it a little bit more, and I have to say thank you to my beautiful sister, who's my best friend. She does so much for me, including driving me around Arizona, so thanks for getting me here. So, I grew up in a very conservative Christian home. I started off this way yesterday, but I was not allowed to play with playing cards. We were not allowed to watch TV unless my mother had approved. There was no alcohol in our home. We weren't even allowed to, well, I've never heard my parents cuss. Very, very, very conservative. And what that did is it gave me a very good sense of what is right and wrong. But it also gave me a very unfortunate sense of I can be right and I can be wrong. Not in terms of performance, but in terms of who I am. When I was about 5 years old, it was really cool. I had red cowboy boots, red pants, a red t-shirt, a red cowboy vest with a little badge, and a red cowboy hat. And as this femininity and this little gay boy was growing up, I could already feel this energy inside of me. And I felt so cute. I can't say it any other way. I just felt cute. And I felt this energy, and I must have been like sashaying up the stairs or something fabulous. And my mother, poor thing, she said, Isaac, stop behaving that way because you're hitting an age where other boys are going to start making fun of you. I felt something move inside of my body. Something shifted. Guilt says I have done something wrong, but shame says I am something wrong. Because of this energy, this difference, and we have all kinds of brain scans and neuroanatomy and all kinds of different things we can look at in terms of how prenatal hormones shape the human brain. But because I showed up on this planet from embryo with these prenatal hormones into this Hispanic culture with macho men and feminine women, I was teased every day at school. I was beat up in a park once. I remember one time, I must love boots. I had my Aunt Sarah's boots on, and I had got my cousin Crystal's pink safety blanket and wrapped it around my neck, and I tied it, and I was parading up and down the drive in front of their apartments. And I was the king, and my little cousin Crystal was the queen. And my uncle Luciano turned in the drive from work, and I made a mad dash to go into the house because I knew that I was doing something wrong, quote unquote. And he came into the house and he looked at me with this angry but disgusted smile. And he called me a maricón, which means a faggot in Spanish. And I remember going back to school. I knew it wasn't a good thing. So I went to school and I asked my peer, what does this word mean? And he was like, it means faggot. And again, something shifted inside of me. It was almost as though, for those of you who were with me yesterday, it's almost as though we were this little zygote, this fertilized egg, and it turns into an embryo, and it's bathed with all these in utero hormones, and then it's wrapped with this temperament and this personality, and that is stable before the baby even shows up on the planet. And as this child that we call Isaac started to grow up, people began splitting him in half. Isaac, when you feel cute, that's dirty. Don't show up that way. But when you get straight A's at school, we're going to keep that one. That one's clean. You get to be that guy. And when you're feminine, nope. When you lie to us, nope. When you want to feel confident by wearing what you want, nope. All of this is dirty. But when you want to play the piano for us, when you want to stay inside because I need you instead of be outside riding your bike, that's clean. We'll keep that one. In other words, you are here to serve me as your parent. I'm going to take from you as my child. And so what this does is this creates something that in psychology we call an ego split. Half of me is dirty and half of me is clean. I was so steeped in this shame. And I don't believe that my culture or my family or my church, they were doing this intentionally. They were trying to help me forge on this planet, thrive on this planet into a healthy being, a healthy human. But I was so steeped in shame, and I was trying to hide myself because I was tired of being teased. I was tired of feeling this fracture inside of me every time someone judged me, that I took Isaiah 58 quite literally. Isaiah 58 lays out this beautiful plan for fasting. If you want to throw out a petition to God, that you want to ask God to fix something, change something, bless you somehow, resolve an issue, you can fast. And I took this quite literally. So for my whole senior year of high school, I fasted 2 meals every day because this fracture inside of me was so painful. And the church, including my dad, would preach from the pulpit that gay people like me were literally going to burn in hell. And hearing this message as a little child who's just swallowing one day at a time, who's hiding himself one day at a time, who's feeling these fractures and feeling his soul and his heart split in half day after day after day, fasting 2 meals a day was a small price to pay just to feel normal, just to feel like I belonged, just to feel like I mattered, like I had some sort of relational offering to give this world. And so, when that didn't work, after the end of my senior year in high school and I was still attracted to the same gender, I began drinking. I drank every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday until I blacked out from the day I graduated to Christmas of my freshman year in college. And no one ever asked me if I was okay. I was really good at hiding it, but it was a very, very, very dark season in my life. When a parent or a teacher or a minister, when they say, "You made me angry," something so basic, we're swallowing something called the illusion of control. I, as Isaac, I'm wearing this illusion, I'm operating out of this illusion that with my behavior, I am controlling your mood, I'm controlling your emotions, but most of all, I'm controlling the way that you appraise me. So as this little kid who's feeling these fractures, I'm telling myself, I'm in control of the way that they see me, and I'm failing big time. So with this illusion of control, what we're saying is if I perform well, I increase my value. If I keep the tenets of Christianity perfectly, it's like this mile-long memory list. Okay, I get up and I do my daily devotions, and I have my quiet time, and then I pray, and then I fast once a month, and then I do this, and 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 this. And if I hold this list well, if I perform, my value skyrockets, and God is pleased with me. But if I'm authentic in my attractions for the same gender, but if I'm authentic and loving the way it feels to be cute, I fail. I fail people, and my value plummets. My relational offering is damaged. It's disgusting. So I made it through college by the hair on my little chinny chin chin. I was arrested and kicked out of CU. I petitioned the dean and she let me back in. I had to do night classes, and then my GPA was high enough, so I went back into day classes with the normal herd of students. And this whole time I was drinking. My sister and I laugh now. It wasn't funny then. But I'd call her at like midnight and I'd say, "Nicole, I lost my phone." She'd say, "No, Isaac, you're on your phone." So thank goodness we get to laugh about that now, but it wasn't so funny back then. If you wouldn't mind putting up the shame serpentine, slide number 1. You can, how does it look for you guys? It's really hard to see, but I'll do my best. I have it memorized, so here we go. You ready? So I'm just going to start off with the emotional craving. What was it? I wanted to feel a sense of belonging. So just a side note, if you guys want these charts, and I recommend all of you, you can go to iamclinic.org, I'll say this at the end, and fill out the contact form, and then I'll email you the charts so that all of you guys can have them if you want them. But so we're gonna run my desire to belong through this cycle, okay? So we're gonna start halfway on the right-hand side. Some of you can see it, it says emotional cravings become distorted. So my sense of belonging was one of those areas in my life where it felt distorted. When I show up on the kickball field, none of the boys want me on their team because I'm feminine, and quite frankly, I'm not very good at sports. I remember being 9 years old, standing outside of my grandfather's church, just pleading, "God, please, please send me a best friend. Please send me someone who can usher me onto the boy island, someone who can make me feel like I belong." This sense of belonging became distorted. I am a feminine, damaged, dirty, disgusting young boy. I don't belong. And so what I did, the next one down, is I'm beginning to hide that distorted emotional craving. This ego split. Part of me is clean and part of me is dirty. The desire to belong, that's a dirty one. No one wants me. So I'm going to take this side of who I am and I'm going to hide it. And I'm just going to parade this part. You want me to be intelligent? You want me to be funny? You want me to be charismatic? You want me to be thoughtful, doting and relational? I'll do that. But when it's all quiet and the lights are low, I'm going to bring this one out. And I'm going to steep, I'm going to gorge, I'm going to just envelop, I'm going to exercise all of these parts of who I am when no one's looking because they're dirty. And then when the lights come back on, I swap back in. So when I have this sense of belonging, I go to this place where I'm emotionally hiding this desire from people. But what that makes me do, and now we're in the next box, is now I need to fantasize. What would it be like to belong? What would this feel like? But unfortunately, because we have to fantasize about getting these needs met in secrecy, the fantasy is never clean. It leads us to sexual acting out, addictions, lying, being manipulative. It leads to all sorts of unwanted behavior. But so here I am in this fantasy that I have to create in secrecy, and it leads me to the next box where I'm becoming incredibly excited, I'm euphoric, and I'm expectant. I'm so eager to get this fantasy to come and bring me this incredible thrill, this relief, this sensation of being alive. It's almost like I'm like taking a bird out of a cage and I'm like, "Fly, baby, fly," right? And so what that does, we go up to the next box, and now we're actually exploring the behavior. I'm getting my hands into the mud. I'm doing things. I'm even getting my own hands dirty now. Then that takes us up to the next box, and now we're just guilty. What did I just do? And I'm sitting in the rubble of my own fractured fantasy. This didn't turn out like what I thought it was. It felt good for a little bit. It doesn't feel good anymore. And this takes us up to the top right. I call this the Fallen Trifecta. And the sad part is that some of us are actually living in the Fallen Trifecta. I'm valueless. Look what I just did. No one will want me. I'm powerless. I told myself, I promised myself I would never do that again. And then I did it again. I can't trust who I am. I'm worthless. The good things that I want in life, I cannot afford them because look at what kind of person I am. the good things I want aren't going to come my way. Just want to pause here for a second. If you're ever feeling these sensations in your body, I definitely want you to hit the pause button and talk about some shame with someone. We need to bring this subconscious shame experience up to consciousness. So if you're ever feeling valueless, powerless, or worthless, we got to get in there and do some work, and I'll help you out with that here in a second. So what happens, the top portion, is the behavior becomes enmeshed. It becomes fused with the emotional craving. Something like, dang it, Isaac, every time you want to belong, you fantasize about that dirty thing, and then you go and explore that behavior, and these must be the same thing. Every time I desire that thing, I do this thing, and I can't stop this pattern. That must mean that my emotional craving and the behavior are one and the same. And we are literally, whenever we want to stop the behavior, we're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. In order for me to stop this disgusting behavior, I have to get rid of that emotional craving. So now we move on, and in front of people, we say, this is who I am. This is what I did. Look at how broken and damaged I am. I felt cute when I was wearing those red boots. Look at who I am. I wanted to belong, but I'm gay. Look at who I am. That is what we would call an identity distortion. I am something damaged. I'm fractured somehow. This will lead us to find comfort in that shame spiral. Well, actually, shame, this is a tricky thing. Shame will convince us that we actually should be comfortable in that spiral. I'm safe here. I do this in secret, and if I don't do this thing at night when no one's looking, how the heck can I show up this way in public? So I'm just going to keep this thing around because this is the only way I get the satisfaction I'm looking for. Or we feel entitled. I worked out today. I deserve that chocolate cake, or half of it. I deserve this. With addictions, there's a ton of entitlement. Or we stay hidden, and that's better than being big and bold and shining out there. No one knows who I am. I'm this damaged thing, so I just stay really quiet, and no one notices me back here. I'm comfortable here. In other words, I'm comfortable in this identity distortion. This will lead us to the last box. It's a misery stabilizer. I could access what I'm really looking for. I could get out there and try my hardest to belong. Or I could just keep reaching for this coping mechanism, this soothing elixir. And now I'm in a misery stabilizer. I'm going to keep going to this thing, and I'm going to kind of calcify here. I'm going to harden, and I'm going to be stuck in this misery. Whatever misery stabilizer, and that's going to tell us this desire to belong is dirty. And now we're going to go right back to box number 1. This emotional craving inside of me is wrong, it's dirty, it's damaged, I need to hide it. Now I'm going to fantasize, and so forth and so on. And we keep spiraling around. I find this to be incredibly important because the ego split happens, it's starting from day 1. A little kid goes up and kicks their friend at school, and we're like, what the heck's the matter with you? Stop kicking someone. Obviously, we want to set limits, but sometimes what we're communicating is, you're a child, but act like an adult. As my child, you're not allowed to do things that are appropriate and authentic for a kid to do. I'm going to slap it out of you so that you can become as mature as I am. That's the ego split. This desire in you to marker up the walls, that's wrong. Now, of course, we want to set limits again, but we also want to say, how can I help you express this desire in a healthy way? Here's the thing, though. In the church, we get really good. We get really good at zapping each other when we just want to be authentic. That's the scary part. Would you mind going to the next slide? So again, I will, you can read some of it. That's kind of good. So we're going to start off on the love avoidance side. So this is how shame helps, and the ego split help set us up for relationships, okay? So on the love avoidance side, what the love avoidant is saying, because of this ego split, is I am only valuable if I perform for people. Up there with the emotional posture, I feel valuable when I meet others' expectations or rescue them from pain. If I am spectacular, they will have no choice but to love me. This, in my story, made me turn on something called body surveillance. I'm this feminine boy who kind of has a limp wrist and maybe might flick his hair back or whatever, look at his nails in a feminine way. And so I'm going to put my body under surveillance, and I'm going to make sure that I appear in a masculine way. Because if I do this tap dance, this masculine tap dance for everybody, they're going to have no choice but to love me. So this ego split forced me into this sensation, this physiological sensation that I'm valuable if I'm performing. Okay? I am obligated to care for others. If I don't, I feel incredibly guilty. And being close suffocates me. I lose my sense of identity, so I won't go too deep in relationships. I'm both, unfortunately, on this chart, so I'm going to speak from personal experience. A good love avoidant will enter the relationship with the motivation to feel valued and to avoid feeling guilty. I had a client the other day, several months ago, and he said, Isaac, I just married her because I felt so guilty. If I told her no, I would, like my stomach, I couldn't do that to her. He's a good little love avoidant. So what happens is we use the illusion of control to sustain the relationship with a sense of duty, not self-love. So it's, I'm on duty for you. I'm going to rescue you from all of your pain. I'm going to perform myself into being valued. So instead of entering this relationship out of love, I'm just going to be a performer for you. You tell me who I need to be. But at the second we enter relationships with that posture, we say, you're the captain of my ship. You tell me who I need to be. And what this does is it traps us into being a performer. So every time we engage that person, we literally have to turn on the performance engine. I call it the ta-das. You know, it's like, ta-da, look at how I made you dinner, and ta-da, I didn't go through with that dream of mine, and ta-da, I lost that part of my personality so that you would stay happy with who I am, ta-da. And then we go back up and we're like, I'm performing so well, you have no choice but to love me. And we get stuck. But this is how it normally plays out. It's like, ta-da, look at what I did, ta-da, look at what I did, ta-da, ta-da, look at what I did, ta-da, look at what I did, right? And we move to that gray box. We become overwhelmed by the neediness of the partner. And then what we do is we go to that bottom orange box and we create some distance. We abandon the relationship in a way. This could be either major or minor. I'm so overwhelmed by saying ta-da every day, I need a break from you. And what the person is swallowing is in this yellow box. I'm not good enough for you. I can't perform well enough to get you to just be happy in this relationship. And then we go up into that white box, and now we're creating all of this intensity. I call it an excuse. I need an excuse to get away from you for a little bit. It's kind of like, la 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 la, I don't hear you. I'm going to work 80 hours. I'm going to do sexual online activity behind your back. I'm going to screen your text messages or not answer your phone calls. I'll call you 7 hours later. This intensity that we create. And because we feel guilty and we have to perform for our value, now we're in the top purple box and we say, oh goodness, I've been away too long. You poor little thing. You need me, so I feel guilty, so I'm going to get back in there and take care of you again. Don't worry, I'm here. Or our fear of abandonment will activate and we'll say, I've been away too long. They're going to forget about me. I'm going to lose my value. I got to get in there before they leave me. Or, and this is where it gets really devastating, option number 3 is we get so depleted by the relationship that we actually get the heck out of there. Had enough, packing up my things, and I'm moving on. Let's look at the love addiction side. You guys doing all right? All right, good. So a good love addict is on the other side. Instead of feeling like they need to perform to be valued, I like to think of the love avoidant as a tree. I'm bearing all of this fruit and I'm producing the shade and you can sit under my tree. And the love addict is their player. So they're like, ooh, a big tree. It's hot out here. I'm going to go sit under the shade. I'm going to eat all their fruit. So a good love addict says, I am only valuable because I have someone to prove my worth. If we don't stay deeply connected, I will be replaced. If my other leaves me, it means our love was fraudulent. It was a joke. I need to be taken care of, so stay incredibly close. Otherwise, I'm going to die. I used to go to kindergarten, all the way from kindergarten to third grade, throwing up, incredibly nauseous, bawling my eyes out because I thought that my mom was going to drop me off, die in a car accident, and never come back for me. That was an incredible setup for love addiction. I am too used to being detached from. I feel this detachment every day, so I need someone to stay close. Don't leave me. Don't retract your branches from me. Don't hold all of your fruit. Leave it right here so that I know I'm safe. So the top blue box, a good love addict will enter the relationship to feel rescued and to feel validated as a relational being. If I can hook someone and keep them close to me, it must mean I have some beautiful offering. But if they leave me, I might be packaged with nothing good. So they go into the white box. So as the love avoidant is showing up saying, ta-da, they kind of live in this fantasy, this massive haze. And they're like, oh my God, you're here. This person I've been dreaming of my whole life is finally here, and now I have no choice but to live in the shade of the tree the rest of my life. And they get really addicted to this dynamic. So in the little teal box, they create a fantasy of the other and themselves, and they start denying healthy boundaries. So it's kind of like saying, I made up this fantasy that you were going to be this tree and you were going to produce oranges for the rest of my life, and here you are, and now you're not allowed to ever leave me. So the tree goes off with their friends on Friday night, and the love addict says, but don't you love me? Why would you go out with your friends and not stay here with me? We text them 7 times a day. We make plans even before the original plan is over. We go on the 4th date and we're like, hey, where are we going for date number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10? Because we want them to stay as close as they can. And so when this person is denying all those boundaries, the other person is like saying, ta-da, like I'm getting sick of this thing here. So in the gray box, when they start violating those normal and healthy boundaries, what they're trying to do is get the tree to prove that they're valuable. Hey, stay close. I'm going to violate your boundaries so that you stay with me. And then in the bottom orange box, when the love avoidant is like, boom, this is overwhelming, the addict feels that rejection and they say, I'm valueless, I must mean nothing. And then they go up into this very painful orange box where they have this incredible anger or resentment. They get panicked or anxiety. They either become shameful and rage, or they feel disposable and lost. This is a very, very painful experience for some of us. And then what we do is we take all of that emotion and we shove it up into that white bubble, and we become obsessed and we medicate. We text 17 times, hey, where did you go? We call them and call them and call them. We drive by their house at night to see if they're there. We're trying to medicate ourselves. I can't be without you. I need you here, so I'm going to text you, I'm going to call you, I'm going to hunt for you, I'm going to drive around the city looking for you, because if you leave me, it means I'm valueless. My first boyfriend, he was deployed to Afghanistan, and in my little love addict phase, I didn't know if I wanted to be in the apartment and be alone, or if I should go to Target and walk around and be alone. So I would drive around the block for 2 hours every day after work in this panic, because I didn't want to go inside and be alone, but I couldn't be with people and be alone. I was petrified. So then what we do is we pop up. So when the love avoidant is responding out of that sense of guilt, I feel guilty, I'm here to take care of you. The love addict says, oh, thank God you're back, and then boop, we put our fantasy back up, and we're like, I get to live in the shade again. If they feel, if the love avoidant comes back out of a sense of abandonment, the addict says, oh, you're here and you need me. I know I'm going to be safe, and we feel validated as a relational being. Or if the love avoidant leaves, gets totally depleted and they leave, the love addict will probably, and very quickly, they'll go out and find another tree to live under. And sometimes it's incredibly quick. And it's like, you were just dating him for 2 years, and last weekend you guys broke up, and today you have a new boyfriend? It's very quick sometimes. Not to shame, but this is because it's a very deeply ingrained emotional experience. So now I'm actually going to start preaching instead of being a psychotherapist, okay? So I'm going to turn to John 4:4 and read for you a story of the woman at the well. So Jesus he's traveling with his disciples, and apparently he's a little thirsty, so he approaches this well, okay? So now he had to go through Samaria. So he came to a town in Samaria called Sychar, near the plot of ground Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus tried and Jesus was tired as he was from the journey. He sat down by the well. It was about the 6th hour. So the 6th hour in our clock means that it's 6 a.m. But how the Jews would set up their clock, if you will, is whenever the sun set, that was the first hour, and whenever the sun rose, that was the first hour, and whenever the sun set, that was the last hour. So we can kind of roughly estimate that it was probably around noon or 3 o'clock in the afternoon during the 6th hour, okay? So it's about, let's say, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and Jesus stops at this well. When a Samaritan woman came to draw water, Jesus said to her, "Will you give me something to drink?" His disciples had gone into the town to buy food. So here Jesus is, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, roughly, and it's just him and this woman. So there's a couple of important things here. It was traditional for women to fetch water all as a collective, but they would go early in the morning so that they could get the water before the day started, but also to get water before it got incredibly hot. So it's kind of odd that this woman is here by herself in the middle of the day when the sun is beating down on her. It's also very odd that Jesus, who is a Jew and a rabbi, one, that he was talking to her, but two, that he even approached her, because it was very, very politically incorrect, if you will, for a man to approach a woman, let alone a Jewish rabbi to approach a Samaritan woman. So this encounter is totally bizarre. The Samaritan woman said to him, "You are a Jew and I'm a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink?" For Jews did not associate with Samaritans. Jesus answered, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks for a drink, you would have asked him and he would have given you living water." "Sir," the woman said, "you have nothing to draw with and the well is too deep. Where can you get this living water? Are you greater than your father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself, as did also his sons and his flocks and his herds?" And Jesus answered, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks of the water I give him will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give him will become a spring of water welling up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I won't get thirsty and have to keep coming here to this physical place," I just inserted that, "to draw water." He told her, "Go and call your husband and come back." "I have no husband," she said. She's kind of skirting under the rug here. And Jesus said to her, "You're right. When you say you have no husband, the fact is you have had 5 husbands, and the man you now have is not your husband. What you have just said is quite true." I love this story. God created us as this all-knowing being. I like to think of, when we prepare for parenting, we're like rushing out to buy the diapers and the formula and the crib and the bumper and the onesies, and we say, "Now I'm ready to parent." Yeah, no. I think God was saying, I'm going to be prepared for the whole lifespan, from the day that I create them all the way up into 2017. and beyond. I'm going to be prepared for that thing and 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 that. And the way they do that and their relationships here and their behavior there, I'm going to be prepared for all of it. So Jesus approaches this woman and he says, you don't have one husband, homegirl, you have 5, and the man you're living with is your boyfriend. But I think this is the clinician in me, I think what he's saying is, ooh, daughter, whoa, baby doll, you got 5 husbands, and the man you're living with is your boyfriend. The pain of this love addict inside of you, you're looking for a tree. It's hot out here. You need a tree, don't you? But in our Western psychology, in our Christian evangelicalism, we read this passage and we have this image of God where he's like, you have 5 husbands and a boyfriend, shame on you. And we like to picture God this way. But what if God is the alternative version that says, ooh, I don't care if you have 5 husbands and a boyfriend. I don't care about that stuff. What I care about is that you're desperate, so much so that you have 5 husbands and a boyfriend. That's a very different version of God. That is a God who says, daughter, give me your sense of belonging. It's behind your back. Give it to me. Hey, you've been ego split. You want to feel cherished and beautiful and valuable, and you're hiding all of that. You're fantasizing about it. You're in the shame serpentine, and you're wishing around, and every time you go through, you collect another man. Hey, let me see what's behind your back. And doing this in front of God is so painful. It's too vulnerable because we have this illusion of control that says, if I show you this, I'm failing you. Being authentic means my value plummets because I can't perform enough to keep you in love with who I am. And if we're doing the love avoidant or the love addict cycle with God, we have a codependent relationship on God. If we're a love avoidant with God, it's I'm going to do this memory verse. I'm going to pray every day, I'm going to fast every day, I'm going to mission trip, I'm going to say, I'm going to smile, I'm going to go to church, I'm going to memorize that song, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to do this thing, and ta-da! And then we think that God says, oh, good job, thy good and faithful servant, and boom, we slap our own value on ourselves. And we are in control of our own salvation. The good love addict will say, I'm so dirty, damaged, and disgusting, God will come and rescue me. I'm not going to take care of myself. I'm just going to let God do it. And we sit needless and wantless. We're totally avoiding what we need, this healthy energy to go out there and be the parent that we need for ourselves. You know, I think this is where I get really passionate. The original definition of sin is to miss the mark, is to have this box, and then we go boom, and we hit something outside of the box. And in our Christianity, we like to say that it's our behavior that tells us if we've hit the mark or not. So what we do, if you might mind going to the last slide. What we do, we're going to look at the stop behavior part. We say, if I just stop this behavior, I'm going to hit the mark. But what that actually means is we're going to deny the God-given emotional cravings. Remember the shame serpentine. If I can shut down that emotional craving to belong, I also shut down that behavior. So to stop the behavior means that I have to deny that God-given emotional craving within me. And what that will produce is an ego split. It's going to distort us away from our truest identity, our relational posture, and we're going to lose something called the imago Dei. The imago Dei is the image of God. I was created in the image of God, but if I stop my behavior, I'm going to shut down the imago Dei. I'm going to suppress it, and I'm going to have this works-based theology. To me, that process means missing the mark, because we're talking about behavior, not the identity. I think that righteousness is when we focus first on our identity. Ooh, daughter, you don't know who you are. You're out here in the middle of the day, which means you're hiding and shameful from all of the other women. You're skulking and scurrying off all by yourself because you don't know who you are. And you have 5 husbands and a boyfriend. You don't know that you're powerful. You don't know that you're beloved. You don't know that you already belong, that your offering is beautiful. If we focused first, like Christ did, next to that well, we would have an integrated emotional craving. That means all of these things that we've been hiding from people, we began to say, I was taught that this was dirty, but it has been clean the whole time. I thought that being a gay little boy was dirty, but it was clean the whole time. I thought that feeling cute and feminine and beautiful and creative and playing the piano and being theatrical was dirty because my uncle called me a maricon, but it was clean the whole time. Underneath the behavior, underneath my addictions, that craving to feel powerful, that pops me up to act out sexually, that craving to feel significant, that makes me want to look at porn. Underneath all of this are these beautiful, emotional cravings that were given to us by God. And if we could get down to the root and really identify what's under the behavior, now we're living as an integrated being. And this, to me, is hitting the mark. I know who I am as God's created child. I know who I am. Now I can hit the mark relationally, spiritually, and emotionally. Now I'm in tune. Now I've had that emotional chiropractic snap. Now I'm getting it right. In my view, sin has nothing to do with behavior. That sounds really odd. If I'm treating an addiction in my clinic, I never say, stop it. Just stop it. I say, what's underneath that? Where is that pain coming from? How has your identity been distorted? Let's fix that, because then you're hitting the mark. And when we get you hitting the mark in your identity, the behavior goes away. It just naturally harmonizes. One last thought. The tree. I'm a geek, if you couldn't tell already. I'm a nerd. The seed has all of this DNA inside of a sheath. Call it a sheath. When this seed falls into the ground, genetics inside the seed can actually rotate the seed so that the roots go into the ground and the sprout comes up above the surface. But what I love mostly about the seed is that it has no choice where it falls. And as the sprout comes up, the tree has no choice in terms of what type of tree it will become, what its bark will look like, what type of branches it will have, what type of leaves it will express, and it sure as heck does not have any choice determining what fruit it will produce. That's authenticity. That's hitting the mark. I am Isaac Archuleta. I had no choice to show up on this planet. I had no choice what eye color I would have, what color of skin I would have. I had no choice of what type of prenatal hormones would bathe my sheath. I had no choice in what gender I'd be attracted to. I had no choice to be the small Hispanic dude with Harry Potter glasses. I had no choice in the matter. My only choice is just to stand and let the sun hit me and hit the mark. This is who you created me to be. When we are authentic in relationships and we repair that ego split and we get rid of that shame, are we showing up in our truest imago Dei? And now we're getting the mark right.